Good afternoon. We are very glad to see you here on our session, the implementation of engineering projects to creative new solutions in the interests of Russian corporations based on domestic technologies. We have an hour of work and we begin our discussion. The participants are here on the stage, so I give the floor to Igor Zelenkin, the Deputy of the Ministry of the Science of the region of Sverdlovsk. Dear colleagues, dear friends, I welcome you here from the name of the Ministry of the Industry and Science. I welcome you here on this strategic session, which is called the implementation of engineering projects to create new solutions in the interests of the Russian corporations based on domestic technologies. Welcome to the region of Sverdlovsk, welcome to Innoprom, and as it is traditionally, the businesses, the power representatives are gathering here, and these meetings can lead to the discussions of perspectives of the development of the Russian industry, and to find some partners and to learn about new services and new technologies. In the conditions of the conditions of the complicated international policy, our government is aiming towards the development of the Russian economy and Russian technologies. We have to create the stimuli for the development of the Russian technologies and to attract the investments. Also, we have to use our inner resources, Russian resources, in order to create the scientific technologies. Our region is one of the biggest industrial regions of Russia, and it has a huge industrial potential and potential in the replacement of the imported goods. We have about 13,000 of industrial enterprises, and on the basis of our region and in other Russian regions, we have a bunch of very big industrial projects which can allow us to reduce the amount of important goods or to get rid of them. For example, the pharmaceuticals, radio electronics, the military industrial complex, and so on. I have to mention this fact because the year of 2017 was the third year of the development of the Technopark Universitetsky on the territory of the city of Yekaterinburg. What is particular about our technical park? We have in its structure some centers of development, so-called engineering center oriented towards the cutting-edge technologies in the industrial production, in the aircraft, in the space technologies, in medicine, and so on. And also we have a regional center of the support of innovations, which provides the scientific and technical enterprises the help in the regulations and certification. And also the question of the elaboration of new domestic technologies is very vital today for the medium and big enterprises. In terms of the engineering projects, we have to have this help in all the regions because it allows us to localize big technical projects and to create new working places to preserve the human capital of the regions. Also, with Innopraktica company, we developed the mechanism which will allow us to realize effectively the project in technical engineering on the federal level. I hope that today's session, which will work in practical level, will give the new impulse to the growth of the business and to the development of the economy of the states. Of course, I wish you a productive work to realize your plans and to find new business partners. I'm very glad to welcome you here. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much, Igor Fedorovich. And just a couple of words from the organizers, and we will check if the mic is working as well. Oh, it doesn't work. Okay. We have a lot of intellectual power here, so the technique is not working. So I will give some context to our discussion just in 3-5 minutes. So first of all, I will thank the region of Sverdlovsk for this opportunity for us together here. The Sverdlovsk Oblast is one of the priority regions for the practice of the Innoprom company, and I welcome here everybody who came here for this 1 hour, and every speaker we have 5-6 minutes to talk, and then they will be ready to answer your questions. What is unifying us today? We are unified by the necessity of the cooperation. And this cooperation should be characterized as follows. It should be creative, fast, precise, regularly, and it should bring results. Also, we are unified by the fact that the most part of the people here are the owners of domestic technologies or the clients of domestic technologies. So our problem is that we have no regular cooperation. And one of our tasks here is not to just meet each other, but also to hear about the projects that are being realized today. The experience of our association in the projects connected with the intellectual property in the state companies, in the small and medium-sized enterprises, shows us an astonishing thing. In all our enterprises, we have some creative people. The intellectual power is even too strong in our enterprises. And we have domestic technologies. We have the technologies that can compete with the competitors. But we just don't count them, actually. We don't count these competences. We can't properly pack these engineering services. So all that I named here, it is our starting point. And so we have to create the window for this request to be realized. So firstly, we have to build working engineering lines. We have to give the possibility to the energy to flow through these lines, and it is our common task. Second of all, we have to offer engineering services for technical clients, and Alexei Karpov will tell us about it. And third, we have to realize engineering projects, and not to discuss the problems, but to resolve them. So it's my pleasure to give the floor to the speakers, and the first speaker who we will pray to talk about his experience is Stanislav Kasparov, Head of Support for Investment and Social Policy of the Sibur company. I think, yes, the mic is working. It's very good. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear friends and dear colleagues. Dear administrators of the region of Sverdlovsk, Nikolai Gennadievich, thank you personally for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here, to speak here in the frames of the time frames that we have, 5-7 minutes. It will be very difficult to put all the problems that we have in this time frame. So I do apologize for my thoughts that will be general ones, but I will try to show you some concrete things. I am the representative of the Sibur company. It's one of the leaders of Russian chemical oil industry, and this industry is one of the most science-intensive technologies and productions. And so for us, the cutting-edge technologies are the base of our competitive capacity. And we know about this range of problems inside our company, and we have been working on it for a very long time, and successfully, as we think. And we began to create some engineering competences. And the Project Institute Pegas, which is the part of the Sibur Group, one of the leading engineering centers in Russia, we just gathered some experience. It was a torture. We have made many mistakes on this way. I think you know about the construction of the century, which was finished in 2014 in Tobolsk. It was the plant of the polypropylene, and now we are building the second giant plant, Neftichim. And during these constructions, we have been gathering these competences and experience. And this way that we are proud of is our precious experience. Of course, the life cycle of any competence and any engineering competence requires effective synergy and partnership, especially today on this stage of its development. And of course, we welcome the creation by the association Innoprom of the Engineering Center, and we have some perspective directions of cooperation. We have discussed them with Nikolai Gennadievich, and we understand that the engineering competences are the basis of success, but also one of the receipts of success is the diversification. So we have to attract different partners to this cooperation. When I am saying a bunch of perspective direction for cooperation, I'm talking about the technical processes in the Sibur company, but also the work on new directions, on the digitalization and informatization of the production. And of course, this problematic is very wide, and it is not possible not to say about the main problems that we will meet, of course, while working together. In the whole world, we have the system of the differentiation of labor, and these systems had subjective and objective starting points, and so different players on this field are doing different things in very good way, and it's very difficult to reach them. And a very simple example from the life of the city of Tobolsk, for example, the main technological column of the dehydration of propane on 1,100 ton, and you are looking at it, it's not difficult. You can just create it in Russia, but we can't create it in Russia because we are buying it in the South Korea, and the South Korea is specializing on the welding of these columns during the 50 years. So it's a challenge for Russia today, and this column could be welded on individual mark. So we have to create the whole technological process for this equipment. We have to educate the staff and so on. So today it's just impossible to do. Just be enthusiastic about it and just replace the import of this equipment. So, and the second example, and I am done today, it's the space. Russia always was a leader in the production of the engines for the spaceships, and even the USA, who has eliminated Russia from its partners, they are buying the engines from us. So all the technological process of the building of the spaceships is based on this engine, RD-180. So this competence belongs to a single player of the market. What am I saying by these examples? Our work, which will continue, I think, in partnership, allows us to think about the processes which can bring us new competences and in which we can be the best. We shouldn't try to do some things that have some professionals in it and which are too difficult for us and requires a lot of time. But we have some niches on the market where this synergy will be productive for sure. Good luck to us.
Thank you very much, Stanislav, for this very measured approach. We do see lots of technological tasks, and we hope that our cooperation is going to be fruitful. And now we are moving to the participants of the project that already cooperates with the engineering center, and I am happy to give the floor to Vitaly from Norilsk Nickel. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I would like to express my gratitude on behalf of Norilsk Nickel for the opportunity to speak in this event. Norilsk Nickel is the world's largest manufacturer of non-ferrous metals, palladium, and high-grade nickel. So our main assets are located beyond the polar circle in the Kolsk semi-island peninsula, and we are now implementing a large-scale investment program. It was this program. The first stage was completed by 2017, and the investment volume is going to reach 550 million rubles and 470 million rubles. Out of this amount are going to be the investment in the Russian Arctic. The investment program includes various aspects and dimensions. It's producing and processing natural resources, metallurgical production, infrastructure, power engineering, the social sphere. Unlike some of our colleagues who are working in the Arctic, we both live and work there because this city has a population of almost 200,000 people, and every day we need to provide them with all the household amenities, safe life, and our company ensures the proper life for the citizens and our workers. So naturally, the tasks are set pretty high for these complicated conditions. Last year, we implemented a very important project on laying broadband internet cable for Norilsk, several thousand kilometers through permafrost, 2.5 billion rubles in cost, and it will help us solve our tasks of digitizing our manufacturing. We have this program too, and by 2020 all our complexes are going to be digitized, automated, and naturally this was a huge impetus for social and economic development in the city itself, because it was the last city with such a large population without a high-speed internet. Besides, we are actively cooperating with vendors of domestic equipment and services from Russia. For example, in the Krasnoyarsk Krai, there are over 200 companies, and in 2017 it was about 15 billion rubles of service paid for services, equipment deliveries, material deliveries, and so on. Taking into account our investment program, of course, the potential is large of interacting with Russian companies. Naturally, like any company that's commercial and for profit, we want this equipment and services to be efficient, high quality, and delivered on time. They must meet our requirements and the conditions we're working in. Otherwise, we wouldn't be so efficient. And the equipment that can be purchased in the domestic market, we certainly purchase it there. It solves the problems of exchange rate volatility for us, and it's just more convenient to buy in the domestic market. There are large programs too. 2 years ago, we signed a contract with an agreement with the Tomsk region government about the implementation and coordination of creation of equipment for the fuel and energy complex in the Norilsk industrial district. In this case, the interaction and the potential of academic and research organizations and production organizations is high in terms of creating equipment for hard Arctic conditions. Of course, we are considering the Innovative Engineering Center as something that can create a separate interface for us to interact with Russian companies and solve our specific tasks. Using the experience of Russian companies, using domestic technologies and domestic equipment. We realize that together with this center, we can hold technical councils at our main venues, identify the specific tasks that need solving, and we will not use a very broad scope. Maybe at the first stage it will be 5-7 tasks instead of 20 or 30, but they will be specific enough so that firstly they could be solved, and in order to focus on them. At the next Innoprom exhibition, I hope to be able to report the results of this activity. We are looking forward to the efficient work with the center. We are planning to become their partners and support this activity. I believe that the center is going to become, it's not a competitor to other centers. I believe it will just take its proper place, being a coordinator, a competence center in research and technical development and promotion of Russian technologies in the domestic market. Thank you. Thank you very much, Vladislav. Indeed, we thank this company for their special attention to engineering, and we see these individual benefits from this partnership. We now give the floor to Alexei Karpov, head of Project Works Department from Krasnoyarsk, Gazpromneft. Good afternoon, dear colleagues and friends. I represent a design institution, and within this presentation and my report that we have prepared specifically for this event, I would like to talk about the specific tasks that we are facing, the problems we are solving during the process of designing certain hydrocarbon fields and oil wells, and mostly offshore of the Arctic shore. The government set us a grandiose and very ambitious task of exploring the Arctic offshore area, not only in terms of carbohydrates, hydrocarbons, and there are many problems in this region that we must take into account in our solutions. We need to find the design solutions to overcome these problems, and in this respect, the design centers are already, engineering centers are already providing great assistance by helping us come up with the required solutions. A couple of words about the Arctic. Everyone knows this region, yet certain problems faced there are mostly associated with low temperatures and very long winters. The temperature in some regions down to minus 60 degrees. That's the temperature when you can break metal like glass with your hands. I don't even mention other materials like wires and instruments. Everything operates differently in these temperatures, not the way we're used to, and that's task number one that we are facing. Task two is a very low density of population, a lack of infrastructure, difficult icing conditions. Most of the wells located in this region and on the ground, they are already explored and are being operated by Gazprom and other fuel companies. We are talking about offshore, Barents, Pechora, and Karsk seas. These fields may have the potential of over 106 billion tons of oil and 70 cubic kilometers of gas. But these resources are hard to extract offshore. And this is a new problem, not just for us. It's new at the global scale as well. And I will skip a more detailed description of wells, but Kamennomyskoye More field, that is the one we have just finished designing. The design is completed. We found all the design solutions, and it took us 4 years, including the research we did on the ice and the exploratory work and so on. If you have questions, I can answer in more detail. As I said, the main problems we are facing offshore, they are new not only for Russia. They are not well explored globally either, but over 80% of all solutions used at oil and gas platforms, unfortunately, that's imported equipment. So Gazprom set this ambitious task of maximum import substitution for everything for building platforms, and use domestic equipment as much as possible to explore these fields, different platforms and drilling devices. So sometimes they're built in Russia or in Europe or in Asia. Nevertheless, it's still important, and now we are trying to discontinue using it. For us, a serious problem is the lack in the Russian sector of economy nowadays, the lack of drilling equipment, casing parts and so on, everything that's associated with underwater completion and so on. It's all imported at the moment. This is the Xmas tree equipment you see in this picture, and we are trying to use Russian solutions. When we designed Kamennomyskoye More field, besides the technical problems we solved, we also had to solve a huge amount of issues associated with the safe operation of the platform. Even to move in this region, there are no means to provide cargo delivery to the platform and evacuate people if required. Helicopters that are usually applied do not operate very well there, because the Obsk area often has mists. Helicopters cannot fly through the mist, and the temperature is minus 50 degrees. So safety issues must be solved first to be able to keep people on the platform, feed them properly. Everything must be brought there and taken from there, even water. As for the environment, this is a specially protected region, so everything we produce at the platform, even the water left after washing hands, must be recycled and taken away. We need transport. This is a very serious problem, and it's hardly possible to use anything there. Unfortunately, the materials are hard to come by, materials that can withstand minus 50 degrees, and we are now working with Innoprom to develop a joint solution that we believe can solve this problem. And I hope that if we can do that, Novatech and even military companies will join us in this effort. Besides the transportation means and the underwater equipment, we need to provide anti-icing devices, firefighting devices. Another innovative solution that is rarely used anywhere is the so-called temperature-activated water, and we are now trying to develop this dimension together with Innoprom. This equipment is already in operation in the Arkhangelsk region, for example. And so this is really blue ocean of opportunities that you can work on and use. So one of the possible solutions, except air cushion vessels, is the creation of special ships that use polyethylene as a coating. And an example of successful cooperation in this area was the pilot project of such a vessel with a load capacity of up to 60 tons that could deliver cargo to the platform and take waste away and bring people there if needed. And this ship is can withstand the temperatures and the icebergs, and it's a very interesting project. So when Gazprom actually moves to building facilities at Kamennomystskoye More, and we will then prove the feasibility and good operational features of such ships, and they will become a standard feature for servicing platforms in the Arctic region. This is the first offshore Arctic field that's being created, and the depth is only 5 or 6 meters in the sea, so icebreakers cannot go there, and emergency rescue vessels cannot go there. We need about 8 ships to service this platform. That's something we can move towards, and that's only the first platform. And on the next, after that, they are going to build all field infrastructure, and they are planning to build 10 platforms with a time frame to 2050. That's a very promising and very interesting project. I've already mentioned temperature-activated water. If someone is interested, I can give you more details about it after the session. That's a very interesting physical invention, and it's our Russian know-how that has no analogs in the world. Another problem that must be solved for offshore projects in the Arctic is the the method of securing piles, because for this platform, for example, the ice load is going to be 30,000 tons. So to secure the platform in one place, we need to use piles, and it takes a very long time to drive them in, and the warm period is very short there. The We need to find alternative solutions. We need to find Russian solutions that would enable us to solve this problem on our own without the foreign experience. Because if we take into account the sanctions we are under, this foreign technology may not work. And at the moment, this is the only way for us to solve this problem. I hope I'm not behind the schedule. I could tell you for hours about the problems that exist in the Arctic and that we are solving. Thank you. Thank you. We are happy that we consider these problems to be tasks. Thank you for your activity. And indeed, it's great that you see this task of using Russian technologies as very relevant and up-to-date, and we are already doing it. Thank you very much. We will move on, and I will give the floor to Vladimir Sedenko, Deputy Director General for Technical Parts, Krasnoyarsk Non-Ferrous Metals Plant.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you very much, and I thank Innoprom to gather us here. I was offered to say a few words about the experience of the realization of collateral projects with some enterprises inside the country, and so this will be the topic of my intervention. I will talk about our plant. It's one of the biggest companies in the world and the biggest in Russia. And we occupy 97% of the Russian market of the platinum, and also we are producing the affinaged metal, but the marginality on this market decreases year by year, and so we are diversifying our production from one hand, and from the other hand, we are looking for solutions to increase the efficiency of the existing production, and we are looking for new technologies. And we are doing that not only with the participation of foreign enterprises, but also we invest a lot in the development of the cooperation inside the country. A few years ago, we have created a platform on the basis of our plant, which is called R&D Park. It's the park which unifies our own scientific center with a platform for the residents, for our partners, for small and medium-sized enterprises from all over the country, and also for several partners that we are creating projects with. It's a separate building for laboratories and for production facilities, and it's a, so to say, production park, and the partnership of our production companies is located there. The partners of our production line are located there. They are producing the production with a high added value. If we talk about our competences, we are, of course, the industrial company. We can produce the goods from the silver, gold, and platinum, but for the last year we developed additional competences connected with the production of the technologies, the powders, of the surfaces, the metallurgical production, and the production of the different alloys. And also we are working in the area of the smart design and the digital transformation. We think it's a very important direction of development that we can implement not only on our plant but also for our partners. Here I would like to show you some examples of the projects that have been implemented together with some Russian enterprises, and to talk about the problems that we have met and the tasks that we see and that are necessary to be solved. We are today working a lot on this search of the meanings of the increase of the capacity of our plant. We are welcoming different partners and ideas. Here we have several directions of our work. And during the last year, we have been working inside and outside our enterprise, and we have several projects that have been realized in the frames of this partnership. We had an interesting ecological project that implemented the new equipment purifying the gases on the production. This was the project together with the company ADIS, and they are the residents of our R&D park. And in the future, we would like to scale this technology on other enterprises. We think that it is very important to develop the partnership not only with the enterprises that are present, that present the possibilities of engineering, but also with a company that can provide the financement. It's not always that we are always ready to finance our own project by ourselves or the project of our partners. So we have a project that we are realizing together with a company from the city of Perm. We are elaborating an alternative technology of departing. And so we have attracted some funds in terms of the program of cooperation. And so we are working very actively with the guys from Perm. And this company is also the resident of our R&D park. And we have the laboratories there, and we have some people who are working on our platform in Krasnoyarsk city. And that are not only creating the technology, but also they are implementing this technology in the production. But it is very important because we have a lot of technologies in Russia, but we have not enough specialists and not enough cases when these technologies are implemented into the production. So it is the most important direction of work within the Practica. It's not only the search for technologies, but it also, so to say, the landing of these technologies on the ground. It is there's implementation. We also have the department of our own engineering. We have created some reactor equipment. We have elaborated the technology of these processes, and further, we have provided for the engineering of the whole production line. And now we are conducting the tests on the production. And also, I can say some words about the CrossFit Med, saying that Innoprom is very useful, not only in terms of the search of the ideas for our needs and for the production of new products, but also it's very useful for the search of the partners that could order the studies in CrossFit Med and help to resolve some problems outside our company. We have some experience of working with very large extractive and mining companies, but today this work is very discreet. So this is the character of our work today, and we think that when we gather different tasks in this engineering center, when we are looking for the partners that could help us to decide these problems and to find an answer to our questions, we hope that it will help us to get some orders, to get some clients for us and for our partners that we are gathering on our platform. Also, in addition, we think that it is a very important task, and we are able to find an answer to this task. It is the packaging of these technologies and their transfer abroad. We have some experience in the transfer of technologies to India. We have a project of the transfer of technologies to China. And so in the countries where we can't go directly, we think that it is possible to transfer the technologies. But it's not only the transfer of the documents, but it is a very difficult engineering task. Especially if we want not really to give them just some documents, but if we want to really implement this technology abroad. And we think that we have to pack properly these technologies and to transfer them to the countries where we can work directly, but where we can give this technology. So this is it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your intervention. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for your tasks that you are putting before your partners. And of course, it is very useful to have your own R&D park. And we have tried to show that our clients and our projects are very precise, very concrete, because on these big events we lack some specific information sometimes. And we would like to continue our discussion. We have not only the clients, but also the partners. And these partners provide us with some services. So I give the floor to Mashkov Vitaly Vladimirovich, the MSP comparison, and we will talk about the finances. So I am here the representative of a financial organization for small and medium enterprises, and one of our tasks is not only to widen our services, but I will tell you something about the purchases. We would like to get access, to widen the access to the purchases of the big clients. And the state has established a quota for big customers for purchases from the small and medium enterprises. So 15% of the 1 year volume should be bought from the SMEs. And so we are controlling these quotas. And here on the slide you see the results of our work. In the year 2016, we had 1.5 trillion rubles of this result, and it is the amount of the market that was given to the SMEs. Who is the representatives of the SMEs here? Okay, great. We will warm up a bit after 1/2 hour of the work. So if you are not the supplier for the big businesses, it will be interesting for you. And in the next year, this number increased. It was 2.1 trillion rubles, and the president gave us the task to get this number in the year of the 2018 up to 3 trillion rubles. And we should emphasize that this quota established in the connection of the innovative and technological production. We have a list, actually. It is created by the government of the Russian Federation of the customers that should buy the production from the MSEs. And in the year 2017, the amount of these purchases was 31 billion rubles. And we are expecting the growth up to 40 billion rubles. So the technologies should be purchased in frames of these figures, according to the plan. And also we have the roadmap created together with the Innoprom and the Russian Fund of the Direct Investment, the Russian Export Center, the Fund of the Industrial Development, and with the representatives of the big customers. So we are consolidated to support the SMEs, and this program includes different financial help in terms of our loans and bank guarantees. And MSP Bank is our branch of our company, and they have created a product when they offer from 1 to 150 million rubles for several years. And we have special products, the guarantee that provides the pledge about 70%. So it is the state money, state bank, and we are a state corporation. So the customers are sure that the bank will not disappear, and we will not disappear. Despite that, in addition for that, we have a consulting center, and also we are creating the, so to say, investment elevator. It's a consolidated support when we have an Institute for Development and Russian Export Center, a Russian Fund for Direct Investment, and the Fund for Industry get together in a working group, and they get a project from the MSP. And if 2 organizations from 4 decide to support this project, so this elevator is switched on, and this consolidated support takes place. And also, we met a problem in our comparison. A lot of entrepreneurs just don't know about the fact that we have some measures of support for the small and medium businesses in our country. And this is a very big barrier in the getting out this support. So we have different conferences, we invite big businesses, and they tell us how to participate in these purchases, and we are telling how we can support the small and medium enterprises. So I invite everybody to actively work on these meetings. And also we have some very precise result of our cooperation with the company Innoprom. We have created the working group where the biggest customers have enlisted the list of the objects and projects of the MSP. We have created some criteria for the selection of these companies. At the beginning, we had 2004 enterprises, but after the analytics, we have left 424 companies, and the first line is 27 companies which we support today. It includes financial support and different programs. It's the methodological support. It is the help to build in the production lines of the customers. So we discuss the possibility to participate in these purchases, and we are explaining the possibilities of this participation according to the federal law number 223. And also we are cooperating with the federal and regional units, and we are looking for federal or regional property, and after that we are transferring that with the soft interest rates. So these products are very preferential. And to conclude my intervention, I would like to say that we provide the so-called co-guarantee when the company with the state organization supports up to 75% of the pledge of the loan. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have some questions, I am ready to answer.
Thank you very much. We are now finishing the series of presentations, and then we will move on to Q&A. We have begun our today's event from the representative of the hosting Ministry of the Sverdlovsk region, and it is my pleasure to give the floor to Oleg Pervuchin, Deputy Director of Minister for Economic Development of the Krasnoyarsk Krai, who is our partner, customer, and pilot venue. You're welcome. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this venue. You know that the Krasnoyarsk Krai is one of the largest Russian regions. We are number 2 by the size. And it's an industrially developed region. In 2017, it was number 7 by the volume of the industrial output. So all the preconditions for further development of manufacturing in the Krasnoyarsk Krai are available. Taking into account the implemented investment projects and the plans for development of large Russian companies whose assets are located in the Krasnoyarsk Krai, accelerating the rates of industrial growth is continuing. We are looking forward to this positive trend to continue for the future. In 2017, the economy of our Krai had 425 billion rubles, almost 3% of the total Russian volume and 1/3 of the volume in the Siberian Federal District. What are we interested in? Currently, for the projects of comprehensive development of the Nizhnaya Angara region have great significance. Hydrocarbons fields and infrastructure building are very important. A well-developed transportation system and comprehensive development of railway sections. We see opportunities of further intensive development of the tax base in the Krasnoyarsk Krai. The implementation of a large-scale project called Yeniseiskaya Sibir has already started, and it includes the development of 3 federal subjects: Khakassia, Krasnoyarsk Krai, and the Republic of Tiva. Its groundwork consists of large-scale investment projects aimed at mining, oil and industry, metallurgical industries, and infrastructure development. This project is supported by the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, during his work visit to Krasnoyarsk in February this year. So currently, together with federal authorities and executive authorities, we are working on its implementation. We expect this project to become the foundation of developing the macro region that we are shaping within the strategy of spatial development of the Russian Federation. As of today, according to preliminary estimates, this large-scale interregional project will ensure capital investment in the excess of 700 billion rubles, and it will have a multiplying effect not only for our region but for neighboring federal subjects as well in the Siberian Federal District and the country in general. To implement this project, the Yenisei Siberia, we are planning to expand state support measures in the Krasnoyarsk Krai to attract private capital into the project, creating additional areas for accelerated economic development. We now have 2 of them, Zheleznogorsk and Zelenogorsk cities, and we are planning to significantly increase the number of such areas. We are also planning to create special economic zones and provide special tax incentives in various formats, including special investment modes and special investment contracts and regional investment contracts. This project will include the creation of general infrastructure, transportation, energy, social infrastructure to reduce the costs and improve the productivity of manufacturing activities and managing both businesses and state functions. We are going to create a lot of new metallurgical enterprises, oil processing, timber and chemical complexes. We are expanding the opportunities for operation of large extracting companies by creating contemporary servicing enterprises, and Innopractica engineering is one of them. Also, this project includes implementation and development of the agricultural industry and attraction of foreign companies with the prospects of localizing them in the Krasnoyarsk Krai. We believe that the general market of goods and services and HR will be developed as we create the Yenisei Siberia brand. Subsequently, we can expand it to the innovations area and aim the products of small and medium businesses to foreign markets. We will create preconditions for developing human resources through higher education and also using innovative infrastructure, R&D institutions, and professional vocational education. In this respect, we are interested in implementing joint projects and initiatives with Innopractica, including those within the project of creating an innovative engineering center. We have currently created the innovative infrastructure of development in the Krasnoyarsk Krai, and it can and should be used within this planned project. We have accumulated significant potential for implementing this project. The Ministry of Industry and Trade of Russia has supported us in creating 3 engineering centers that currently exist. Their activity is primarily aimed at supporting high-tech, small and medium-sized entrepreneurship. All the conditions are already there. We only need to begin, and I believe that it's going to happen in the near future. We, as the government of the Krasnoyarsk Krai, promise and guarantee the required support, both administrative support and maybe even program support within the implemented programs in the Krasnoyarsk Krai. I think that implementation of the Yenisei Siberia project with the already determined list of participants, and we expect this list of participants to increase through satellite projects emerging near large projects, and it will make it possible to have a large scope of activity for the engineering center in the territory of the 3 federal subjects in Russia. And I would like to use this opportunity, dear colleagues, to promote it a little bit. I invite everyone who is present here today and your colleagues to participate on October 2018, to participate in the 17th International Forum of Siberian Entrepreneurship. Nikolai took active part in its creation, so we are now inviting you, and I'm also proud to invite you on the 2nd of March to the opening of the International 29th Students' Universiade, Students' Sports Games, and it will take place in Krasnoyarsk on March 2 through 18th. Krasnoyarsk is a very hospitable city, and we are inviting you to come to us for leisure and business. Thank you very much. Thank you, Oleg. This was a great attitude of good mood and friendliness. In the Soviet times, I once found out a very interesting sign at the bakery, and it said you should bake bread in good mood. We also need to work in a good mood, and we arranged our presentation in such a way as for Nikolai Kolpakov. To conclude by talking about the essence of this project. He is the head of Innovative Engineering Center. Thank you, dear colleagues, for finding the time to participate in this event. The Innovative Engineering Center was launched, and it became a separate legal entity in March 2018. And since that time, we started negotiating actively with representatives of the large businesses in the Russian Federation to achieve good contractual relations. At the moment, the partners of the engineering center are who are already there or entering the project. Companies like Norilsk Nickel, Gazprom Neftegas Project, Krastsvetmed, Russian River Board Service, Innovations Support Fund, and other organizations we are negotiating with. And we are negotiating with Yevraz Holding, Rostec, Roscosmos, Novatec, Lukoil, and other corporations to increase the scope of the implemented design solutions. So what caused this need for creating such an integrating structure? Firstly, we looked at the development programs of large corporations, and the money spent every year for technical upgrading exceeds 4 trillion rubles per year. For technical upgrades, 80% of this money, unfortunately, is spent beyond the Russian Federation. And this is a market that we voluntarily handed away. There are several reasons, and corporations have a very simple request. Our market is less competitive. Why is it so? Why did it happen like that? It is no secret that we come from the Soviet Union, and companies that are able to compete in the new market, they are trying to do everything themselves, not outsource it. That's why the costs are huge, and the technological solutions are outdated, and the situation is quite complicated as you look at competitive competing proposals by other foreign companies, because in other countries the principles of business organization is consortium. There is one integrating company and a huge number of subcontractors who work in this field. So we set a task for ourselves, firstly, to achieve a dialogue with large companies to identify their needs, because how can you invest in your own production processes if you don't know where you're going to sell your product? So if we can get access to investment programs before the purchasing is launched at the negotiation stage, the company can have some time and find the money to tackle these tasks. So that was our potential project solution. And the second dimension was building a chain of vendors, a supply chain. We select an integrating company, we develop a transparent methodology, transparent for the customer, and it is then taken down to the contractor to a certain level. And this system should be transparent for the customer, because we eliminate the risks for a specific customer. This map of interactions means that our structure includes several dimensions. Certainly, these are corporations or customers. Then we have engineering companies, then potential contractors by specific product fields, and financial development institutions. Why have we invited our colleagues here? We can see representatives of MSP Corporation and other development institutions. So why are we focused on that issue? Why are we working on that so hard? So we want to, the corporations want to buy an end product. They don't want to spend money on R&D, on customizing it for them. They want to buy an end product. But how to get an end product if you need financial capabilities for that? And for that reason, we have development institutions like MSP Development Corporation, Innovations Assistance Fund, Direct Investment Fund, and other organizations working in this market, so that if we have a guaranteed order, they can provide the financial means for its implementation. And we are systemizing this activity and dealing with this issue in a systemic manner. Based on the results of interaction with the corporations, we created 4 basic services that we have requests for from either the business that will potentially be included in the supply chain or from large corporations. These 4 basic services are aimed at the following dimensions. The first service is aimed at linking the needs of large corporations and their investment programs with the technical solutions that already exist in the market, complementing them with Russian solutions that will be delivered as products or technologies or solutions that the business needs. The second dimension, the request from corporations, is as follows. When we interact with large businesses, the request is as follows. We are not solution developers, we are solution operators. Sometimes it's actually hard for us to look at these processes as outsiders. We are often struggling with stating our needs and creating terms of references, creating the tender documents, and interact with the businesses to make sure someone satisfies our needs. So the next service is assisting customers to set the tasks that will then turn into orders for our manufacturing partners, and then they will get into the supply chain. The next service is creating the supply chain, actually, because we need to solve this issue. How do we move away from doing everything yourselves? And you shouldn't blame vendors. It's the way that it happened historically. They have no options, they have no answers, and that's why we need to provide them methodological assistance. Let me give you an example. There is a plant that develops, that designs provision vessels for Gazprom, and the task is making fabric. So they were going to create a separate department to purchase weaving machines and open up and create a new function. So we asked them, why do you want to do it at your company? You are going to have overhead costs. They say, because we cannot control the small and medium-sized businesses that we would like to involve. And we say, if we give you the methods, will you be open to working with outside vendors? When they looked at our method, they said, yes, in this case, it's interesting. And then you can actually remove 50 or 70 percent of costs from the company. You can let them spend this money on contractors. And so the third service is building cooperation chains. And the fourth service is creating engineering companies together with the customer that will be able to reorient to using Russian vendors and Russian products. This request came from Gazprom, and we encountered it yesterday. We met with the Russian railways, and they had a similar request. They are saying that they are finished with the subsistence economy. They want to spend more money outside of the corporation to avoid lagging behind. In our function, we developed services for corporations themselves, enabling interaction. So there is this, if we get into more details on the service for corporation, the first service or the first set of services is creating technological requests through open technological councils. It's an important service. In this case, we are saying that an open technical council is going to include future contractors as well, who are going to satisfy this need, but they're involved at the task setting stage. And they will get, all participants of this market will get assessed stage by stage down to the end vendor who may be delivering bolts. And this subcontractor must be brought up to the requirements of the customer. The next service is interacting with outside R&D centers. Why is this service important? The large business has a problem interacting with the higher education institutions, and for small businesses have no access to the academia and departments of universities, and we want to give them this methodology through the engineering center, because if we don't have a specific technology developed in the academia, then we can only resell or package the already developed solutions. We need to give the industry access to the academia, but higher educational institutions cannot give you a technology. So usually the large businesses are blaming colleges for not giving them technologies, but they are not able to do that. We need small engineering companies to develop technologies. Our engineering center is aimed at creating such conditions to form this systemic approach. And I would like to give you more details about the project we are doing for Gazprom. We currently have 15 requests in progress, and one of them was a vessel of high molecular polyethylene cushion. We analyzed potential contractors who could participate in solving this issue. And we selected the Rybinsk plant that is potentially going to become a contractor. The company has now found the sufficient money. It costs about 700 million. So the company found about 50% of money for this experimental order. And then, together with the development institutions, we need to distribute it to cooperation chains. And we want to give these cooperation chains to the small business so that they could join the integration and use the financial instruments to join this supply chain. So we are planning that this plant will design this vessel. Then we submit it to testing to Gazprom Certificatia, and if the testing is successful, it will become the major solution for this issue. We are working on 15 similar requests in the same manner, and we are going to increase their number. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that we are not an engineering market player. We are not substituting engineering companies. We are not doing engineering per se. We are opening the engineering market to large industrial corporations, because you need to set the rules of this game and know them. So we are opening up these opportunities for engineering firms. I hope that next time it's going to be possible to discuss the specific results. For example, the plant has done that and that. They joined the purchasing system, and I won't be talking about that. The representative of the large business will describe that, and the company that received this order and that fulfilled and executed it, to collect the feedback on that. What else? I will try to be brief because we are a little behind the schedule. What other services I would like to emphasize? If there is no initial business communication, no access to desks, no systematization in the project, then there is nothing. There is no link with the academia and so on. Our task is using our tool to build these business communications, and without the participation of the industrial business, it's impossible. There is a customer and a contractor. If contractors are ready to work in our project, it's going to be a huge help. And then we have the small business. Why is small business so necessary for the large businesses? Because only small businesses can provide flexibility. Any process, you ask a question, ask a corporation, how long does it take to reformat a manufacturing process? It's actually similar to an investment program in terms of costs, but small businesses that can take some small portions of supply chains is reducing, mitigating these risks. I tried to skip some of the slides because, of course, it requires a more detailed discussion. But we would like to invite you to cooperate. First of all, thank you for finding the time and caring for this situation from the perspective of further interaction. If we're going to build this interaction chain, we have very high chances of shifting this high-tech market to domestic manufacturing. Thank you very much. Let's leave this slide with the contact info. Thank you so much, and thank you for staying with us. We have Q&A time now. Comments, arguments, ideas? Anyone? Good afternoon. My name is Natalia Kirillova, and I'm head of subcommittee on engineering at Delovaya Russia. I've been in this business for over 20 years. I have a small company, only 60 people. So first of all, I would like to thank Innoprom for launching this project. It's actually working, and we're seeing specific people. I wanted to emphasize the importance of that. I studied in Aachen for a MBA, and a large Western company wanted to upgrade its product. They asked their corporate engineering center, and the center said 6 months and €500,000. Then they asked my university, and they said 4 months, 300 thousand euros. And when they went to the market, there was an innovative engineering company who did it in 1 month and for 100,000 euro. That's an actual case study, because large companies are used to solving problems in-house. It's not always good in terms of the speed and efficiency, financial efficiency. I like it when Germans are saying you need to focus on the core competence that you can do better and faster than others. And I think Innoprom will assemble companies who can solve issues for the customer quickly and more efficiently. So I have a great request to Innoprom. Let's create engineering alliances from companies with competences and solve these complex tasks. As a Delovaya Russia representative, I'd like to offer partnership. We have a regional engineering center, and we collect engineering capabilities in regions, small and a bit larger companies, and I'm sure we will solve your tasks efficiently. I'm happy that you are ready to the dialogue with the small engineering firms, because we can. This will be your tier 1 supplier, because you cannot work with 100 small companies. So I hope Innoprom will be this kind of integrator. Thank you. Thank you very much, Natalia. The door is open. You're welcome. Good afternoon. My name is Marina Lapteva from Center of Technical Projects, and the core competence, as that was mentioned by the beautiful lady before me, is technological documentation and interactive airplane building, car building, and ship building. I have a question for Dmitry. In his presentation in slide about the third competence, it had a picture of a small airplane. Do you have requests from the aviation industry in terms of cooperation and finding engineering firms? Because the Center of Technical Projects company that I represent has over 120 engineers. We are already working on Superjet and MS-21 projects, and I wanted to ask you, what did the airplane mean? Does it mean that you get requests not only from metal workers and Norilsk nickel? And what is the area they're interested in? Maybe we can also offer something and cooperate with you. You with us, or we with you. Thank you for the attention, first of all. You're right. We are planning to do that, but we don't have any requests from the airplane building yet. But we are planning to cooperate with Rostec. We are already negotiating with Rostec actively. And in the end of July, we are going to have a meeting with the industrial directors of Rostec to provide systemic cooperation, first in small projects and then in larger ones. We are also planning to work with the United Aviation Building Corporation, because it's a systemic problem for the country, lack of internal cooperation, and it's harmful for the customer, for the large businesses. Thank you very much. Someone wanted to ask a question? Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Alexei Nosarev from a fuel company owned by Rosatom. There were many speakers now, but no one even mentioned the issue of intellectual properties for these solutions, which is actually a very important question, and because the future of the industry is the industry of knowledge, not industry of solutions. So I have a wish. If we are saying that Innoprom is going to develop the whole methodology of cooperation and management, we need to consider the issue of intellectual property. Let me reassure you, we do have it. I provided specific context today. You cannot work without intellectual property. It's like needing IT. You just cannot do without it, so it's included in our project. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I have a question to Nikolai. I am first deputy to the head of Yekaterinburg administration. My name is Alexander Kozhemyako. I have a question about small and medium-sized businesses. There are two examples in Yekaterinburg practice. By the way, we have, small and medium businesses account for 45% of goods and services here. If a small engineering firm develops technical documentation for unique custom-made agricultural machinery, and they are aiming at foreign parts, and then when the dollar exchange rate soars, this project is mothballed because they cannot find good Russian vendors. And the second example, we have in Yekaterinburg there is this first building by Norman Foster, the architect, the headquarters of the Russian copper company. They have a very unique way of window frames. And I know that a Yekaterinburg company, medium-sized company, won the tender, and it's now finishing these works successfully. So the question is, can small companies use Innopractica services both in terms of becoming a client? They have limited financial capabilities, which is one of the problems, and also in terms of entering the supply chains and contractor chains that you are creating. Thank you for your questions. Indeed, one of our major tasks, let me begin with the last question, is a maximum involvement of small and medium-sized businesses in these processes, because it's them that must provide that flexibility for large vendors. How can you start cooperating with us? Based on the results of technical and technological councils, based on direct requests, we are creating a database of requests or critical technologies that can be decomposed down to the small businesses level. So those who have, of course, we will send a request to the Sverdlovsk region, to Yekaterinburg specifically, to get databases of such companies and categorize them by specialization. So when we get a request, we will transmit this request. Who is ready to participate in this specific project? We have specific financial tools, a specific customer, and a specific time for designing. So we are very much interested in that. As for substituting foreign suppliers with domestic suppliers in projects, that's not your unique problem. Gazprom and Sibur and Norilsk Nickel talked about it. They are facing this problem, but the problem is that lost competences are not born overnight. It takes years, or maybe dozens of years, since we lagged behind. And this situation was caused by lack of requests. So if we are working on that incrementally, then domestic manufacturers will emerge to satisfy the demand. Of course, maybe we'll not be able to do everything in a year or 2 or 5, but we will make steps towards this goal. I would also like to add that firstly, all participants of today's meeting will receive minutes of the meeting from us and information on what to do. We are also opening a web channel for interaction. It's called Technical Breakthrough, so we can interact online. Good afternoon. I represent a small business, Lipetsk machine building plant. It used to be a big plant with over 5,000 workers, but currently, like other Russian machine builders, we have a little below 100 people. And I wanted to talk about the problems that I hope MSP Corporation will help us solve, because we have no one else to address. Yes, MSP helped us by reducing the payment terms from 90 days to about 30 days upon delivery. But nevertheless, since the production takes 2, 3, or 4 months plus 30 days for payment, this makes the product more expensive for the customer by 10, 15, or 20%, including banks guarantee and participation in tender venues, because all 62 tender venues are pay-based. Then the bank guarantee, then paying the entrance fee. So our government is not doing what it should be doing to support the development of the small business, and I hope MSP will help us with that. And another thing, all corporations usually stick to the old practice of purchasing, although there is a limit on the monetary amount. But with the current system, the purchase usually includes a product. The purchase request includes a product that doesn't exist in the market and the price that's not in the market. And my numerous applications to the authorities concerning the so-called technical arbitration were not answered. By technical arbitration, I mean the following. We used to have the system of terms of reference in our country, and there was a standardized terms of reference for a specific task. It included certain technical requirements to the end product, and the customer with the supplier agreed on the end product. But now they can write the width, the height, and the color of the product. So I think that there is no one else to ask. I am asking MSP to create the system of technical arbitration that will reduce the cost of the end product drastically and make it easier for small and medium businesses who cannot pay kickbacks, that you know that it's usually 10 or 15% for corporations from the delivery price. And another address to MSP. Unfortunately, not all small and medium businesses are able of monitoring the existing proposals of support. We would like to get more supports like that, and because the orders for our products are more numerous than our capacities, we could produce much more. So without the actual support, we cannot satisfy the Russian market. Unfortunately, the decree number 9 is still not implemented. For this reason, that's a wonderful decree number 9, but the mechanism is not thought through. Thank you very much for your comment about the arbitration, an interesting idea. I am from the Industrial Committee of the Union of Industrialists. None of the speakers mentioned the academia. We have very powerful academias, Ural academia, Siberian academia, and they are also solving problems. In the Soviet times, we had a link between the academia and the industry-specific institutions, and then the plants. Since all industry-specific institutions died, perished, then small engineering firms emerged. They are not structured. I'm sorry if I'm mistaken. And the small businesses are chaotic. Even in the Sverdlovsk region, 15,000 small and medium-sized businesses, but they're not structures. We started creating large holdings, so So we have plans of instrument building and fuel machinery building and so on. For example, it turned out that we have about 300 of them, but when I looked at them more closely, there are only about 30 because all the other so-called instrument building companies are buying chips abroad and selling them here without restructuring and without distribution by industries through clusters. We will always live in this chaotic situation, and any corporation is doing everything in-house. Take any corporation, for example, an agricultural corporation can grow crops and produce milk and work with gold or copper. So we need to restructure small and medium-sized businesses for corporations to be able to work with them easier. Thank you very much. Since I didn't have enough time, I skipped this slide, but the services included research, R&D corporations and colleges. So let's take 2 more questions and we'll finish at that. Thank you very much. My name is Yulia Gretskaya, Marketing Director, Ural Plant of Chemical Machine Building. We are manufacturing high-pressure tanks for almost all Russian oil companies, chemical and petroleum chemical companies, and over the last years our customers are involving foreign engineering firms a lot. That's a fact. Of course, it's a great initiative that we are beginning to create a competitive structure by bringing together individual engineering firms in Russia, but it's not enough because it happens like this. Customers, when they implement large investment projects, they don't just attract technologists or contractors, they also attract funding, which is very important because it's usually it usually comes in a package. So do you think, what is your forecast? Are our Russian offerings going to be competitive, since the engineering solutions must be accompanied by financial solutions, and our banks are not competitive in this respect? Thank you. Nikolai, can you answer that? This is indeed a pertinent question. We are facing the fact that Western companies use different ways of promoting themselves in the market, including financial support, and it is a complication. And you can only deal with it if you are getting involved in large investment programs by large corporations and offer more customized solutions. As for financial instruments, we are currently seeing that medium and small businesses can develop through such requests. You're not the only person asking us about that, so maybe we need to actually develop a financial instrument to take that situation into account and offer it to integrators. Not just to small and medium-sized companies, but to integrators as well. This is a problem, and we know that China is trying to play on this field, and South Korea. Thank you very much for your question, and thank you, Nikolai. I'd like to emphasize that our task is creating local chains, because we don't want to look at a problem in a too broad sense. When we get a task, we start solving this problem specifically. So this is just our approach, working on specific requests. I'm sorry, this is the last question. My name is Boris Poznaev. I'm director of IT institution, digital economy, digital manufacturing, and primarily machine building. I would like to ask the following question associated with the core theme of our event, the digital manufacturing. In this regard, if we are talking about Industry 4.0 and the National Technological Initiative, and of course the digital economy of the Russian Federation program, the main thing is national competitiveness. I'm sure everyone knows what Industry 4.0 is, and the German manufacturers who spoke here today and talked about standardization, the main task is quite clear: strategic advantage and interaction of industries. What you spoke about in your presentations, single window and building chains, and digital manufacturing and digital industry. And by the way, a draft new program on digital manufacturing was developed. It's aimed at integration. In this regard, I would like to focus on the problem of standardization. Yesterday, the German colleagues and the Association of German Industries, we have agreed to create a competence center to work on developing national and international standards together. This is an extremely relevant task because we cannot build this digital industry and digital economy space at the national level without standards. So that's a whole architecture, and there are many experts working on that, and I'd like to use this opportunity to address Innoprom and ask it whether they are interested in this, and also address heads of manufacturing companies and regions. What systems at ERP, MES or SCADA level are you using at your corporations? Are you using domestic or foreign systems? We know the answer. You have actually listed all the systems that are in use. Yes, you've implied that it would be great if domestic vendors dominated in your engineering projects, but that's not so yet, and we need to reach the level of understanding with the German partners through standards. Thank you very much. Thank you for the comment. We have really gotten behind the schedule. I thank our speakers. I thank all of you who stayed until the end of our event, and that's what I would like to emphasize one more time. Engineering Center is open to communications. We are building interactions, and we want to create chains out of us. All the contact information is available. Please address us. Thirdly, we will be able to communicate online. We are creating Technoprorif channel with webinars and online interaction opportunities, and we will inform you of the activities of the Engineering Center. And finally, I like this statement. First, it's hard and bad, then it's hard and good, and only eventually do we reach the situation when it's easy and good. Each of us knows how to do something well. We only have to build the cooperation chains now, and that's what I'm asking you to do. Thank you for your participation. Thank you.